What is going on, guys, and welcome back. It's already been 15 months in the union as a pipefitter apprentice. Just to start off, I gotta say that it's been awesome. Like I said, I've been learning a lot about the trade, and I am basically just trying to retain all this information I'm being given. Of course, you retain it much more when you're out there in the field working on it with your hands. I am basically just documenting my journey through this apprenticeship that is going to be 5 years, to become licensed eventually. And I am going to take you guys every step of the way. Once a month I will upload, a month worth of process. So you guys will, of course, will receive one video a month. And who knows, I will add more interesting videos, along the way as well. I did this because I was probably in some of you guys' shoes. You want to get all the information that you can. You want to learn what happens in the construction sites, what happens, when you're in the union, and just in general, just what happens when you're in your apprenticeship and what's it like. So here I am telling you guys my experience and how it's been. So let me just start off by saying what I did in the month of August. Let me give you guys a little quick background. I am in a new construction job, a completely new building. I've been in this project literally since the foundation. And of course, it being, new construction is a whole new thing for me, a whole new experience for me. Now let's get back to what I did. In the month of August, I will tell you that I was on the roof for a few weeks. I was on the roof of this building, helping, the journeyman, bring this pipe up and connect it. Also adding, and the kind of piping we're working with steel, 8-inch steel piping, and this stuff is not light. You literally have to use roustabouts to lift this pipe, put them into place, and the hangers that we use are like literally 16 inches long. Keep in mind, guys, that right after this pipe is installed by us, it's also going to be insulated. So in total, this pipe is going to be like 16 or like 18 inches wide. And it also takes a lot of steps just to bring this huge 20 feet in length piping. Some heavy stuff. You got to use a certain amount of come-alongs to lift this pipe up. You got to put one over here. You got to make sure that if you move this come-along over here, or the chain fall, that this side won't bump up, and it can get scary sometimes. But of course, taking the safety measures to do this right, luckily everything has been going smooth. Something that I was also doing was, when we lifted these pipes up, we will lift a second one and try to get it as close as possible, so when the welder comes in, it's much easier for him to weld it. And of course, we have to like level it out for him. So after a few weeks of being on the roof, installing this huge piping onto the hangers, I also was soldering. I believe it was the 7th floor. I was soldering on the 7th floor. If you guys don't know, I've been going through each floor. This building has literally 9 floors, and on each floor we've had apprentices, journeymen teach us, welding along the way. Sometimes us apprentices will do sections, and actually we are reaching the end. For the month of August, I ended up just bringing a pipe up, putting the pipe up onto the hangers, doing a lot of soldering. And what we solder is something called condensate lines, water that gets pumped out of some units outside so it doesn't clog the unit. I have literally, been soldering tons of sections. Literally, you could say I've been soldering maybe hundreds of joints. And I can probably say that I have not had any leaks yet. And also something that I did, for the month of August, I was trembling. What that means is basically I was going around doing layout, but I was doing the layout digitally. What this means, I would set like a camera sensor in the corner of a room, and I have a tablet that tracks where certain points have to be. For example, this camera could tell you where certain access panels are going to go. Access panels are, the ceilings that open up so you can access what you did. So I actually ended up just laying those out, and I also laid out some hangers. And what I mean by hangers is that this camera, I will control it with the tablet, and this camera would locate exactly where these specific hangers, for the pipe, for the specific piping that we're gonna put, it would locate where it is, and I will go mark it on the floor. And after marking it on the floor, later on, after we finish, you know, doing the layout, we would go back and drill exactly where it needs to be. Of course, it's something that can get tedious at times, but of course it's something that needs to get done. So that's basically pretty much what I did in the month of August. So basically, let me give you guys a quick rundown, okay? So I literally lifted big pipe, you know, onto some hangers, you know, put them together, and also we did some soldering, of course, in this different type of sections. Sadly, it's coming to an end, but it's a good thing because we move on to other things, you know, learn other things as well. And I say that because, you know, soldering is a great skill, you know, to have. And lastly, I did some layout, you know, with the Trimble digitally, you know, scanning the floor and telling me where exactly to lay out. And I will say this just for now, I did start school, but that's a video for next month. Thank you guys so much for watching. You know, leave a question down below if, you know, I'll try to answer it with the best ability. Thanks for watching, you know, and supporting this channel. But for right now, guys, have a blessed day.